All right, well, let's move on now, and it's time for a look at what's happening in the international newspapers with Florence Vielmano, who's joined me in the studio. Florence, we're going to start by looking at the Argentinian press, where it's all talk over the Falkland Islands.
That's right. Yesterday, President Cristina Fernández Kirchner wrote an open letter to Prime Minister David Cameron, calling on him to relinquish the Falkland Islands. Now, this open letter was originally published as an advertisement in The Guardian and republished in several other papers. Now, today, the leading British tabloid, The Sun, bought an advertisement, this time in the Buenos Aires Herald, which is an article we're looking at right now. And the Sun says that President Kirchner should keep her hands off the Falkland Islands. And the text published by The Sun follows a similar rejection from Cameron, which is in another Argentinian newspaper, La Nación. And it points out that Cameron said that the future of the islands should be determined by the Falkland Islanders themselves, not Argentina. A referendum on the island's political status is to be held in March, so we'll see what happens.
Okay, well, the row's also getting attention in British press, notably in The Guardian.
That's right. There's a funny cartoon that depicts the row and the upcoming referendum, and you see a very colonial Cameron there and President Fernández de Kirchner. They're around a table with that ballot box in the middle. But you'll notice they're both wearing hard hats, and they're both holding drills, because according to The Guardian, that's what this is all really about, is the natural resources that are around the Falkland Islands. In their editorial, The Guardian says, "Here we go again," and says that actually faults can be found within the attitude of both sides of this row right here. First of all, President Fernández de Kirchner, she's just being a populist here, and she's looking for an issue to divert public attention away from her own government's economic problems. Meanwhile, Cameron, he's saying that Falklanders have a right to self-determination, but he knows very well that in reality, any kind of conflicting claims of sovereignty are actually a matter between states, not people. Now, according to The Guardian, one solution would be for there to be some sort of a joint agreement to exploit the resources, all the while protecting the marine environment there.
Okay, well, let's move on to a different story, a different paper, the Canadian paper La Presse. They have an interview with the man behind the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights.
That's right. He's a very discreet man, and his name is Rami Abdurrahman. So he's a Syrian resistant that's actually living in Coventry, England now. And he, according to La Presse, has got the world opinion on high alert. He's the man behind the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, the main source of information that international media across the world use. And he set up the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights back in 2006. So he rarely gives interviews. He's very worried about his safety, his family's safety, but he did agree to speak to La Presse. And he explains that he left Syria when he was 29 because he was afraid that his life was in danger because he was a political dissident, and he ended up in England. These days, he's in contact 24 hours with about 200 informers on the ground. According to La Presse, his 2 phones ring constantly off the hook. He's the only one to consolidate the information that he gets out of Syria because he says, I can't trust anybody but myself. So he's the one that cross-checks everything.
Okay, well, let's move on. Al Jazeera is trying to find a space on the US market by launching a new channel, and that's getting some attention in The Independent today.
That's right. Al Jazeera bought the US channel Current TV, which gives it access to millions of US households. Now, Current TV was founded by former Vice President Al Gore, and in The Independent, they look at why did Al Gore sell out? And they look at this tale of 2 Als, because on the one hand, Al Gore is known for being a big environmental activist. And so it's surprising that he would sell his channel to Al Jazeera, which is owned by Qatar, one of the world's biggest oil exporters, and also one of the countries with the biggest carbon footprint in the world. So according to The Independent, this all might be about money because Al Gore is reported to be getting about $100 million for selling his TV channel. Meanwhile, Al Jazeera also has a lot to gain on the very large and lucrative U.S. television market, and now all it has to do is convince American viewers to watch its channel. Okay,
let's just end then on some big news here in France and actor Gerard Depardieu.
Yeah, Gerard Depardieu, he's in a cartoon with his new BFF, Vladimir Putin, in The Independent. Now, there he is pocketing his new Russian passport. Meanwhile, both of them have halos with low taxes written on it. And according to The Independent, it's the new Russian icon.
All right, Florence, thank you very much indeed.